Chapter 21. The Pier at Huntington Beach. The first pier, constructed in 1902, was a rough pine structure 1,000 feet long. The pilings were not creosoted, hence were a perfectly natural anchorage for barnacles. By 1910, the barnacles had eaten through the pilings, and the pier was ready to fall down. The Huntington Beach Company wanted a new wooden pier and had in mind the construction of a more expensive pier at 23rd Street to better promote their property development in the west end of town. The Chamber of Commerce appointed a pier committee of which I was chairman. After studying all the data and information obtainable about the newly constructed concrete piers at Ocean Park, Venice, Santa Monica, and San Pedro, we decided that Huntington Beach must have a good reinforced concrete pier. A real fight was on. In fact, this was the bitterest fight in the early history of Huntington Beach. The Herons, Chapins, O'Connors, Talberts, and many others were well organized and put on an earnest, ardent campaign for the new concrete pier. The Huntington Beach Company, Warners, Whitneys, and others were among those opposing the bond issue of $70,000, maintaining that it would bankrupt the town. Lurid pink handbills were placed under every door, asserting that a concrete pier would ruin the taxpayers. Indignation meetings were held, where excited individuals worked up a frenzied passion of oratory. The real estate agents and promoters, afraid that they might lose their agency for the sale of the Huntington Beach Company properties, were loath to take any active part in the controversy. It was hard to get an open expression, but the hearts, souls, and spirits of the people were with us, as we evinced when the votes were counted, and we found that the bonds had carried by better than a two-thirds majority. The pier bonds were carried in 1911. The pier was completed in 1914. Mr. James, the engineer of the Santa Monica and Venice piers, gave us much valuable guidance and checked our specifications. Tom Campbell, engineer and head salesman for the industries of J.S. Torrance, suggested several changes for the betterment and strengthening of our pier. The bid of the Messero Construction Company was accepted, and they received the contract for the construction of the pier. They did a marvelous job at a loss of $30,000. Thus, our pier really cost $100,000. The piling for the pier was built and seasoned for months along the bluff. A narrow gauge track was laid onto the pier over which the piling was conveyed, one at a time, to be fitted and driven into place. When finished, this pier was conceded to be the best reinforced concrete pleasure pier on the coast. This has proved to be true, inasmuch as the 1,300-foot pier has withstood all storms and tests that time has provided without major repair until 1949. The 500-foot extension at the outer end of the pier was added at a later date and is lower than the original part for the convenience of fishermen and the barge boat landing. As it extends beyond the heavy rollers and swells, the height could be dropped with safety. When this extension went out in the terrific storm in 1939, it was not due to the faulty construction, but to the pressure and bumping of piles carried by the tide from the Newport and San Clemente piers and wedged and tossed against our pier. The Holly Sugar Company built a small pier at 23rd Street for the maintenance of their outfall sewer carrying the wastewater from the washing of the sugar beets. For several years, it was leased to the Reynolds brothers, who were experimenting with the generation of power from the perpetual motion of the waves.